Future technologies based on electromagnetism. Lots of new and exciting technologies are going to be launched in near future, and the working principle of those technologies are being governed by the electromagnetism. I'll discuss next in this lecture. I will discuss a few of those new technologies that we are going to experience either in this decade or in a next couple of decades. As we know, at present, the most promising technology is the electronic system based technology, which is used to design integrated circuits, and that technology utilizes the silicon as the fundamental material. MOSFET plays an important role in this technology because in this integrated circuit, most of the devices which are being fabricated utilizes the functionality of a MOSFET. But the miniaturization of those MOSFET of the devices is another important aspect, because miniaturization of the MOSFET means the integrated circuit, the dimension of the integrated circuit becomes much smaller compared with the earlier generation of the device. And with such a miniaturization, we can reduce the dimension of the existing integrated circuit so that we can add other integrated circuit with additional functionality. And that is why day by day our devices, our smartphones, the functionality of our devices and smartphones gets increased. So this is the one major aspect of the integrated circuit, that we can miniaturize or we can scale down the integrated circuit. But unfortunately, we are at the end of this silicon or electronic technology, because right now Apple, Samsung, or the top branded companies are planning to launch the 7 nanometer technology, and they are also planning for the 5 nanometer technology. So what is that meaning of the 7 nanometer and 5 nanometer technology? If you are familiar with the MOSFET, you must aware about the channel length of a MOSFET. The channel length is basically defines the technology definition. That means for 5 nanometer technology, the channel length of a MOSFET should be the 5 nanometer. But now, as the 5 nanometer technology is going to be launched, and if you compare the length, that means the 5 nanometer, with the atomic radius of the silicon, then you will find that what is the atomic radius of a silicon? Atomic radius of the silicon is 0.111 nanometer. And if you compare 5 nanometer technology compared with the atomic radius of a silicon, then if you divide, so that would result approximately 45. So what is this figure? This figure represents, so this is the 5 nanometer technology, and this is the atomic radius of a silicon. So if you divide this 5 nanometer by the atomic radius, you will find the number of atom, the now stack of the number of atoms which forms the channel. So 5 nanometer technology means a stack of 45 number of silicon atoms which are used to form this particular channel. So from here you can easily imagine that we must have a limit that we are going to reach, beyond which we cannot miniaturize a particular device, that is called MOSFET. So what is the way out? Yes, you can suggest with a different technology and other different materials, different mechanisms, but you have to keep it in your mind that the present business tycoons like Intel, like IBM, Google, uh, uh, Amazons, and all other business tycoons, they have invested a lot of their money on this existing silicon technology. So silicon fabrication lab, their procedure, everything is known to us. So we cannot just say that okay, forget all those technologies, so I am suggesting a new technology, go with that. No, it is not going to happen. So therefore, whatever you have to suggest, you have to keep it in your mind that you have to utilize the existing infrastructure of the fabrication. So that is why scientists found light is a suitable replacement of the electron. And the obvious reason is that light is 100 times faster than electron, because the uh, existing electronic technologies deals with three major factors. First one is the speed, next one is the power, and third one is the area. With miniaturization of the existing electronic integrated circuit, we get higher speed, uh, additional functionality, and obviously we solve the power problem as well as the area problem, or the space that actually the device is occupying. But as the existing technology is going to an end, so we need to think about a different one, that is we are going to utilize the light. So light can easily solve the issues with the speed of the existing electronic integrated circuit, because light is 100 times faster than that. Another important aspect of the light is that the power dissipation while utilizing the light is much less, almost zero, when you are comparing with the electron, because the power dissipation within the existing electronic integrated circuit is caused due to the mutual interaction between the electrons, because we know when you apply an external electric field, and that electric field accelerates those electrons within a particular material collide with each other, and that collisions generates heats. So the part of that applied power gets lost by radiation in terms of heat. But when you are utilizing light, the photons, they are massless, so they do not interact with each other as the electron do. So therefore the power dissipation, the problem with the power dissipation or issues with the power dissipation can be minimized in a greater way when you are comparing with the existing electronic integrated circuit. But the major disadvantage with the light is its radiative in nature. That means electrons are inherently confined within a particular material. So electron cannot be radiated out automatically. To pull out electrons from a body of the material, you have to apply some external field or light with higher energy, so that electrons can get out from that surface of the material. But such kind of property is not possessed by the light itself. Light is radiative in nature, so we need different mechanism, or we need another physics, different physics, so that light can be confined within a material or the medium, particular medium. Already we have such kind of mechanism, that is known as the total internal reflection. Using the total internal reflection, we can confine light within a particular medium, and based on this total internal reflection, the optical fiber is designed. The optical fiber basically works on this particular principle. But I am talking to replace the existing silicon integrated circuit technology by the optical integrated circuit. That means you can easily imagine the dimension of those optical integrated circuit, of the order of micrometer or nanometer. So to that order, or to that tiny order, it is not possible to confine light using only the total internal reflection. So we need different mechanism, different physics for that. And this lecture is all about that. Although I am not going to discuss the physics behind the optical integrated circuits and the new and incoming technology in a greater detail, but I will just give you a brief idea about them, so that if you are interested in a particular field, you can search or you can read it about them. First is the photonic crystal. Photonic crystal is a technology using which the photonic integrated circuit can be designed. As you can see, this is, you can call as a city of photonic crystals, where different type of arrangement of materials are shown, and these materials are used to provide different functionality for the light. The most and fundamental arrangement of this material is this one and this one, where you can see this pillar of the material is arranged periodically, and this material is made of dielectric medium, and as this materials are forming a periodic structure which is called the periodic lattice, this one or this one, they can confine light at this particular position where a missing rod you can see here or here, either missing rod or missing hole. So in both ways you can design a periodic structure, either a periodic arrangement of rods of dielectric materials, or you can perforate a dielectric material periodically as shown over here, and by arranging a missing hole or missing rod at a particular position symmetric to both sides, you can confine light at this position. I am not going to discuss the deeper details of the physics behind the photonic crystal, but the idea is that if you can design a periodic structure with a defect as with a missing rod or missing hole, then a series of those defects can be used to form a waveguide where the light cannot escape through this direction or this direction. It can only be directed either through this path or through this path. So this is the periodic arrangement in 2 dimensions. Similar type of periodic arrangement can be done in 3 dimensions. In that case, light cannot escape also vertically towards you. So in this way we can confine light within a medium of the order of micrometer or nanometer. And this is the most basic and fundamental idea to confine light to this tiny order. And based on this principle, we can design different devices which can be integrated or which can be used to integrate different devices, and optical integrated circuit can also be designed using these photonic crystals. Another important system of materials that is also governed by the theory of electromagnetism is the metamaterial. And from this name metamaterial, you can easily understood that these such kind of materials are not available in the nature. So metamaterial means a type of materials that is fabricated or that is designed with some expert mechanisms. And such type of metamaterials are designed to modify the refractive index, which means the permittivity and the permeability of the particular material. As you can see over here, that based on the values of the permittivity and the permeability, the materials can be categorized into 4 types. For the first case, the permittivity and the permeability are greater than 0, and these type of materials are available in nature, and for that we consider that light or electromagnetic wave propagates to the right direction, and that propagation along the right direction is based on the right hand rule. I will discuss in my next lecture what is the right hand configuration and all this, because the axis directions are so arranged that the right hand rule are applicable for such type of material for which wave propagates along the right direction. Next is the second coordinate. In this case, the permittivity is less than 0, whereas the permeability is greater than 0. And such type of devices is called the electronic plasma. And the plasmas are a kind of electromagnetic wave, or that is called the evanescent wave, that appears at a very high frequency, such as the optical frequencies. Next one is this one, third coordinate, where both the permittivity and the permeability are less than 0. So in this case, the electromagnetic wave propagates to the left hand side. As for the values of permittivity and the permeability, when both of them are greater than 0, then the electromagnetic wave propagates towards the right direction. Then with the value of the permittivity and the permeability less than 0, they propagates along the left direction. Here you can see this K is the direction of the propagation, where E is the direction of the electric field and H is the direction of the magnetic field. So for the first case, the orientation of the electric field, magnetic field and this K are just opposite to this one. Here the direction of the K should be to the right side, and this should be the electric field and this should be the magnetic field. So This type of material for which electromagnetic wave propagate to the left side are called the left hand material or the metamaterial. Although metamaterial is a wide category of the materials, because if you modify the permittivity or the permeability, so any kind of material with modified permittivity and permeability should fall under the category of metamaterial, but especially with the permittivity less than 0 and permeability less than 0, the left hand materials, these materials are called the left hand material, because the electromagnetic wave propagates to the left direction within this material. So I will show you what is the meaning of this propagation of the left direction. This is not the reflection. If you imagine that the electromagnetic wave incident on a left hand material and they are reflecting back, so this is not the case. Okay, I will discuss. Another type of material is this one, where the permittivity is greater than 0 and the permeability is less than 0. Since this type of material with permittivity less than 0 and the permeability greater than 0 is called the electronic plasma, this material is called the magnetic plasma. Here is a simple example of the metamaterial I am going to demonstrate using this Snell's law. First, consider an ordinary medium, this one. What Snell's law do over here? If light incidence on this particular dielectric interface, so this one, if you consider this one is the denser medium, this one is the rarer medium, and this one is the denser medium. The angle the light is making with the surface normal is theta 1. Now, since the light incidents at the rarer medium and it is coming out from the denser medium, obviously from the Snell's law we know that the angle of refraction, which is theta 2, will be less than theta 1, because at the denser medium this ray shifts towards the surface normal as you are increasing the theta 1 at the rarer medium. The opposite situation occurs when the light incidents from the denser medium, that means this medium is denser and this medium is rarer medium. In that case, this ray shifts away from the surface normal, that means like this. So theta 2 will be greater than theta 1. And we know the total internal reflection occurs in this configuration, that means when light incidents from the denser medium and comes out to the rarer medium, because when theta 1 becomes equals to theta c, then following this property, this light ray will propagate just through the interface, and when theta 1 is greater than theta c, which is the critical angle, then the total internal reflection takes place, and at this total internal reflection, the theta 1, this angle and this angle both are equal. The total internal reflection takes place where theta 1 and this incident angle and the reflected angle both are equal. But this is not the case with the metamaterial. As I told, for the metamaterial, for which the when the permittivity and the permeability both are less than 0, that means negative, the electromagnetic wave flows along the negative direction. That means the light incidence from the rarer medium or denser medium, whatever, it doesn't matter from which medium it incidents at the interface, it reflects back. Actually, it is not the reflecting back, it is propagating after the reflection, it is propagating on the left hand side. In this case, it is propagating on the right hand side. As you can see, it is propagating along this side. In this case, it is propagating towards the left side. And in this case, in the case of total internal reflection, you can see that theta 1 is equals to theta 2, that means the angle of incident and angle of reflection is equal to each other. But in the case of metamaterial, without having any condition, always the reflected or refracted light will appear in the first medium. It will never go into the second medium. And the second point is that the theta 1 will never be equals to theta 2, this condition. So and all other parameter remains same. That means if this medium is the rarer medium and this medium is the denser medium, for an ordinary medium the refracted rays shifts towards the surface normal. In this case also, this refracted light will shift towards the surface normal, but in a first medium. If for an ordinary medium light comes from the denser medium and it comes out to the rarer medium, then as I told, the refracted rays shifts away from the surface normal. So in this case also, if this one is the rarer this one is the denser medium and this one is the just a minute, if this one is the denser medium and this one is the rarer medium, in that case this refracted ray will shift away from the surface normal, but everything will take place on the first medium, nothing will go on the second medium. And here is a few application of the metamaterials, first of which is the metamaterial antenna. By using this metamaterial coating, the directivity, gain and efficiency of an antenna can be increased. Not a particular antenna, for different type of antennas can be increased. And here is a paper that I have referred over here. You can see if you are interested in so where how the metamaterial coating are used to increase such parameters of these antennas are described in this paper. Anyway, you are right now may not be familiar with the directivity, gain and efficiency of the antenna, so I will discuss in this due course what are these parameters and how they are defined. Next one is the metamaterial absorber. Metamaterial coatings are used in photodetectors as well as in photovoltaic cells to increase the absorption efficiency, because you may be familiar with the working principle of a photovoltaic or the solar cell, where the light coming from the sun is absorbed by a photovoltaic cell and in turn it produces the current, and that current we can utilize. So that is basically the conservation of energy from the optical energy to the electronic energy. But there the efficiency of such kind of devices can be increased obviously if you can increase the efficiency of the absorption, and using the metamaterial such absorption efficiency can also be increased for a photovoltaic as well as the photodetectors. Next one is the metamaterial super lens. The lenses are used to zooming in a particular object so that a tiny object can be visible in front of our eyes, but each and every lens has a diffraction limit beyond which the lens cannot magnify further, and that is called the diffraction limit. Using the metamaterials, because metamaterials has a particular capability, so they can increase the energy associated with the evanescent field. And what is an evanescent field? If you want to visualize a particular object using the existing lens, just try to visualize that when you are zooming in a particular object, then maybe the object at the center of the object it is becoming much more clear, but at the edge of that object the image is a bit blurred, and those images around the edge of that object is blurred because the light energy or the light rays which are coming after reflecting from the edges of that object are not being amplified using your existing lens. So that light rays or the energy associated with that light rays actually being dropped, or your lens is not able to capture the energy of that light ray. So that is, those light rays are evanescent, we call it. The metamaterial lenses has the capability to enhance the energy of those optical energies. Therefore, you can magnify an object beyond the diffraction limit of an existing device or existing lens. The most amazing and exciting discovery in this century is the invisible cloaking. If you want to make some object or make yourself invisible, and if you take a shelter within that cloaking system, you can make yourself invisible. In general, why we see an object like a tree, we can identify it is a tree. We can identify it is a building. We can identify, no, it is a rod, or either it is a wooden stick. How can we identify that? We can identify because light propagate the fastest at the vacuum. Other than the vacuum, in every or all medium or material system, light propagates slower than that, and that is why the refractive index always greater than 1, because the refractive index is nothing but the ratio of the velocity of the light in the free space divided by the velocity of light within that particular medium. So that, since velocity of the light in free space is always greater than the velocity of light in any other material, so refractive index is always greater than 1. And that is why when a light incident on a particular object, so, and when it is reflecting back to our eyes, we can identify the device because the light passing through that object propagates slower than the light ray passing around that particular object. And in this way, the total light optical energy when comes to our eyes acquires some phase associated with that particular object. So that change in phase is recognized by our eyes and we can identify a particular object. Now imagine that you have made some arrangement in such a way that the light which is coming to your eyes or to the eyes of an observer after passing the device acquires no phase, or due to your special arrangement the acquired phase is made corrected when it came out from the particular object. Then to an observer it is indifferent whether the light came out through an object or not. In this way you can make that object invisible. Such kind of phase correction can be obtained by modifying the refractive index of the cloaking device, starting from 0 at the center of the cloaking device and 1 at the outer surface of the cloaking device. Suppose for an ordinary object which has a refractive index, suppose n greater than 1. This is an ordinary object. Now the electromagnetic wave which incidents on that particular object may be like that. It passes through like this, like this. These are the wave fronts, where the wave fronts within the device is behind the wave front outside of the device, and it signifies that the wave propagating slower within the device compared with that propagating outside of the device. Now in case of a invisible cloaking, if this one is the invisible cloaking, then the wavefront maybe looks like this one, like this, where you can imagine by observing the wavefront that wavefront inside the device is leading with that the wavefronts of the outside of the device. So that is why the wavefronts is leading, as you can see, compared with the outside of the device. So it signifies that the refractive index for the cloaking device is n less than 1. As I told that at the center it is approximately 0, and as you are moving towards the surface of the device, the n is equals to 1, and in between them n, or the refractive index, is less than 1. And being less than 1, a refractive index, we know it is equals to c divided by v, where c is the velocity of the light in free space, whereas v is the velocity of the light within a particular device. Now when n becomes less than 1, that means the velocity of the light within a particular device becomes greater than the velocity of the light in free space. Since this object or this cloaking device exists within the air medium on the earth, and the velocity of the light in air medium is also approximately equals to the velocity of the light in free space, So therefore, the outside of this sphere in this region, or I can mark it with different color, that within this region the velocity of the light follows the velocity in free space, whereas within this region, since the refractive index is less than 1, velocity of the light or electromagnetic wave within the particular medium is greater than the velocity of the light in free space. As a result, when the wave fronts appearing outside of the device is reaching at just at the uh, outer surface of the cloaking device, then as I told, the refractive index of the outer surface is equals to 1. Therefore, the wavefronts or the velocity of the light, which was initially greater than the velocity of the light in free space when it was propagating within the device, that wavefronts or the light when appearing at the surface, due to this refractive index, the velocity of the light at the surface must match with the velocity of the light outside of the sphere or of the cloaking device. So that is why at this position, that means at the outer surface, the velocity of the light will appear equal in both the cases. That means which was coming from outside of the device and which was coming out from the device or through the device. So at this point, you can see the both of this phase which gets mismatched within the device is matched. Such kind of phase correction was not possible in ordinary material, because in case of ordinary material, the light propagation of the light was slower inside the material. So the slower wave front cannot catch up the faster wave fronts which was propagating outside of the outside of the ordinary device. So such kind of implementation is possible by modifying the refractive index 0 at the center of the cloaking device, or approximately 0 at the center of the cloaking device, and equals to 1 at the outer surface of the cloaking device. And if you can take a shelter inside of the cloaking device, you can be invisible. So this is the idea of the cloaking device as shown in this diagram. So that is the idea behind the invisible cloaking. I'm not discussing the greater details of the invisible cloaking, how we are dealing with it, because these are the most recent and current research area. If you are interested in this such kind of research area, you can dive into them. But before going to study such kind of devices and all of these things, you need to know Python, because Python is one of the important language which is used to design simulators, which are used to calculate different parameters of the electromagnetic system. So that is why if you are familiar with the Python, it's okay, but it is not that you have to learn, you must have to learn Python. So there are already commercial softwares are available, but we generally prefer to go design your own software by yourself, because if you design your own software, you can if you calculate the each and every parameter by your own without being dependent on the commercial softwares, then the concept behind all these things will be cleared much more. So that is why it is my suggestion, if you are interested in such kind of things and research, or if you want to study further, it is my suggestion, learn Python. And this is the structure of the metamaterial, where this one is the first metamaterial, this one is the first metamaterial structure that have been achieved, and thereafter different type of metamaterials have been designed. And the design of the metamaterials are very simple. If you want to realize a particular functionality using some metamaterials, a simple PCB board is fair enough to design a metamaterial structure. However, the range of frequencies will be different, but the major advantage with the Maxwell equations or the electromagnetic wave equations is that if you can design a particular system for a particular range of frequencies, if you can scale it down, your range of frequencies also will be scaled up. That means, suppose you have designed a particular functionality for 1 gigahertz frequency, and you have scaled down your device by the order of 10. So the range of operating frequency, which was 1 gigahertz initially, that will be increased by the order of 10. That means for your uh, new device which is lower order of 10, the operating frequency range of frequency will be 10 gigahertz. And that's why if you are interested to design some metamaterial structure, you can take a PCB board, and in a similar way the PCB is designed, you can design your metamaterial structure on this PCB board like this one and this one, and you can check the performance of your metamaterials on that particular frequency for which you are designing the PCB board. Now if your metamaterials is working fine and it is at par of your expectation, then you can be sure that if you design, or you can design, or if you have the proper infrastructure to design that your device to a lower scale, so that device will work properly or work fine for the higher frequency ranges. So this is the another advantage of the electromagnetic wave equations or the Maxwell equations.